All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, having a great Sunday. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story, I think you guys already know what it is. Roelly Winklaar put up a post yesterday where he actually tagged me in this post, and I don't know why he tagged me in the post, but I thought it was pretty cool that he did. So he put up this post where his triceps look absolutely ridiculous in this picture, by the way. They look insane. But he gives us a little bit of good news here. He says, now that I've got your attention, I hope y'all are ready to see the beast back on stage soon. And then he tags me right after that. Then he says, in the meantime, I'm a smile and enjoy the ride. So Roelly apparently wants us to know and wants me to know that he's competing sometime soon. So I had to throw this in the video. We don't know what show Roelly's going to do. I would expect it would be one of the bigger shows, maybe Tampa, maybe Chicago. The lineups for those shows are really starting to get pretty deep. And Roelly is such a high caliber of a bodybuilder, I can't see him jumping in a smaller show where the lineup is going to be weak. Like the Cali Pro is going to be a smaller lineup. I can't see him doing a show like that. Roelly knows he's a higher level guy, and I think Roelly wants a higher level of competition. So I would see it being a higher level show, like potentially Tampa or Chicago, a little bit later on in the summer, closer to the Olympia. Assuming that he's not planning on getting a special invite. It looks like Roelly is intending to qualify for the Olympia through competing this year, which I think is excellent. Obviously, Roelly was not able to compete last year. We've been over this a million times. But because of the virus, he was stranded in Istanbul, Turkey, and he was not able to compete at the Olympia. Therefore, he was not able to qualify for this year. And really, at this point, if we're being honest about it, Roelly is probably the biggest name bodybuilder, probably the best bodybuilder right now, that is not currently on the qualified competitors list for the Olympia. Roelly, I mean, he's almost always a top 10 Olympian. I can't remember the last time he was outside of the top 10 at the Olympia, if he ever was. He's like a perennial top 10 guy since 2011? I actually ran into Roelly's brother, Quincy, backstage at I guess it was the 2019 Mr. Olympia. And I had a chance to get to meet and talk to Quincy, and we took a picture together. He was a really cool dude, so shout out to Quincy. But I know that Quincy said he watches the channel. So maybe Roelly is watching the channel too and paying attention to what's going on. And he knows we want to see Roelly back on stage in 2021 for sure. And he's probably reading these comments. He's probably watching this video. So if you want to see Roelly compete this year, hit that thumbs up button. Comment in the comment section down below. We want to see Roelly at the 2021 Mr. Olympia no matter what. Now, next up in the news, we've also got Patrick Moore. So we just talked about Patrick Moore in a previous video. I talked about how my only concern with Patrick at this point, based on the pictures that I've seen, was hoping that his condition was going to be sharp enough at the Cali Pro in less than a week now. Maybe Patrick saw that video too, because Patrick's recent post opposing video, the caption says, "I want it all, dry conditioning, fullness, the whole package, not settling for anything else." So Patrick giving us a little bit more to work with here. As long as he's aware of it, I'm sure he knows what he's doing. I know that Patrick's goal, like I said, he wanted to put on size. He wanted to come in fuller. He felt that he was flat last year at some of the shows, and he wanted to improve upon that with both size and fullness. So my only thing is, I just hope he doesn't sacrifice any conditioning for that added size. Hopefully, he comes in bigger and more shredded than he was last year, and hopefully he wins the Cali Pro. That would be amazing. Like I said before, that 2019 Olympia Patrick Moore, where he was top 10, the conditioning that he had at that show is what made me a huge fan of Patrick, in addition to, like I said, his structure. And I think that's what made a lot of people fans of Patrick, because that was conditioning like we haven't seen from a lot of competitors for a very long time. And I want to see that again. If Patrick brings that 2019 level of conditioning to one of these shows like the Cali Pro, I find it very unlikely that he wouldn't win. But I do think Patrick's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove after last year. He's not happy with how the 2020 season went down for him. I think he's going to try to prove that to us at this Cali show, that he's coming correct, he's improved, and he can bring the conditioning. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in less than a week now, the 29th, the Cali Pro. And now, a word from our sponsors over at Labrada Nutrition. Come on. All right, now next up in the news, a rare physique update from a guy that's already qualified for this year's Mr. Olympia, and that is James Hollingshead. The 300-pounder, James Hollingshead, 300-plus pounder, has proved himself to be a guy that can bring really good conditioning and a lot of size. The guy is dense. The guy is granite hard, even in some of these off-season pictures. The dude looks like he's carved out of stone, and that has a lot to do with the size, but the density as well. His muscle is just crazy dense, crazy muscle maturity, and really impressive. Like I said before, one of the things that really impresses me about James is the size that he brings, but at the same time bringing really, really good conditioning like what we saw in Spain, what we saw at the British Grand Prix. James is a phenomenal bodybuilder, and he's one of the guys, like I said, I think he's going to be a wild card for a serious top 10 guy at this year's Mr. Olympia. People might not see it coming, but I think it's going to happen. I'll even say this too. Top 6 at the Olympia is not out of the question for James Hollingshead. I really believe that. I think he's going to do really well this year and surprise a lot of people that might not know about him. Now, next up in the news, I want to talk about Hunter Labrada. Now, I know that Hunter has posted some more recent physique updates today and yesterday, but this physique update from a couple days ago was the one that had a lot of people talking. And I just got a chance to watch it and really analyze how he's looking, this posing video that he posted. So this is 9 weeks out from the Chicago Pro, this video of Hunter. And it's interesting to see how good he looks at 9 weeks out from a condition standpoint. Hunter is a guy, clearly he's got the size. He proved that at the Tampa Pro last year. He proved that at the Olympia with a top 10 finish. He has the size to hang with these top, more seasoned IFBB pros. And he specifically says in this caption, he's focusing on conditioning, he's pushing really hard, and he says he's trying to be able to see his organs like John Jewett, who's a 212 competitor that looked impressive as hell at the New York Pro and the Indy Pro. So Hunter, for a bigger guy, he's got a really pleasing structure. He's pretty aesthetic. He's got a lot of size. And by the looks of things, at 9 weeks out, this video specifically looks really, really competitive. I want to see a really impressive level of condition from Hunter in Chicago. And he knows he's got to bring that because he's going up against the stacked lineup, like we've said, Charles Griffin, Akeem Williams, Sergio Jr. The lineup in Chicago is not going to be an easy win for Hunter by any stretch of the imagination. So we might see the best version of Hunter that we've ever seen show up at that show. And again, Hunter is another extremely high-caliber bodybuilder that still has not qualified for the Olympia. It's going to be a really fun season, guys. You've got a lot of really good bodybuilders that are not even qualified for the Olympia yet. That should be guys that are in the conversation for the top 6. All right, guys, now the final story that I've got for you guys today, this is something I was thinking a lot about, how good of a storyline this could potentially be. Michael Krizo, I was watching some of his training videos that he posted today, and I was thinking about what he's been up to lately. He's been calling out Nick Walker. He's been calling out Blessing Awodabu. He's been kind of taking shots at the IFBB and saying the IFBB Elite Pro is the superior organization. I thought all this stuff was kind of interesting, but what a good storyline it would be if Michael was able to cross over to our IFBB over here, the IFBB Pro League from the Elite Pro, and then go toe-to-toe with these guys after talking all this trash. Because I think really the only good outcome that could come from him talking this trash would be if he comes and backs it up over in the IFBB. He's talked a lot about guys like Blessing and Nick, but it's one thing to talk that kind of talk when you're in a completely other organization all the way across the world. And one thing that I love is a good storyline in bodybuilding. It makes bodybuilding more interesting. But if he's talking all this talk and then comes over and tries to back it up, now that would be an extremely interesting show. I know that Michael has expressed a lot of interest in the past when it comes to switching over to the IFBB Pro League. So it's not something that's totally out of the question. And the fact that now he's taking all these shots at these guys in the IFBB, maybe he is trying to build up that storyline for him coming over to the Pro League. I mean, calling out Nick Walker was interesting. Blessing was one thing, but Nick Walker and Michael Krizo, I think, would be a pretty evenly matched matchup. I think that would be a really competitive one. And honestly, based on what we saw from Nick Walker at the New York Pro, I don't know if Michael could beat that version of Nick Walker that he was talking crap about. So it's interesting. I mean, Michael has a crazy physique. He's very aesthetic. He's got a ton of size. He's probably arguably the best, if not one of the best bodybuilders in the quote-unquote other IFBB. So this is a potential storyline to explore for the future. And something that we might see happen, because I do think it's interesting and I do think it's noteworthy that Michal is taking the time to make all these random IFBB callouts. Maybe we will see him on an IFBB stage sometime soon. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what the qualification process for him would be, if they would make him go through the NPC, if they would immediately let him compete in the IFBB. I don't know how that would work because the split, like I said, is a very complicated situation. But honestly, even if they did make him go through the NPC, how hard do you think it would really be for him to earn his pro card at this point? It would probably take him 2 shows, and he'd be in the IFBB. So I guess we'll see what happens, but this Michal Krizo storyline is something that I think we should be keeping an eye on, because I think he's talking more and more trash. He's really done everything there is to do in the Elite Pro. And this might be a storyline where he crosses over to the IFBB and starts challenging some of these guys in actual shows. So this is something I think we need to be watching for. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.